Hi, Shea Hulse here. If you don't know me, I am a mom of two. I have a 17-month-old and a 3-month-old, both about to be 4 months and 18 months. And I am a busy mom of two who helps other moms manage everything and just show you that it's possible and you can do it too. And I encourage you to continue doing what you're doing. So what I want to talk to you today is specifically about stress management. Okay, because we are moms, and it's difficult, and especially if you are a home business owner like myself, whether you are or aren't, this is going to be relevant to you. But I want to talk about, every step of parenthood, there's just more stuff. You're always going to have to keep learning what is best for you, what is best for your children, what is possible, what is necessary, what is the impossible. And some stress management tips that I have for you are, specifically if you're a coffee drinker like me, one thing that has helped me is adding tea into the mix, doing some herbal teas, specifically at night. Herbal teas are amazing. I think that, if you don't know, my husband and I are also, we don't drink, we don't do drugs, we don't do any of that stuff. And because we are in recovery, 3 years sober we have now. And when we stopped drinking, we had to find something else, some other type of stress relief, some type of routine to add it into to replace that bad habit. And so what we chose was tea. And that's all it really was kind of like a habit. It was a bad learned habit. So we had to learn a new good habit. And the routine of it was something that we had to understand and learn how to work with and tweak, which is very similar to having children. You have to learn their routine first, then you have to add in your routine, and then you can actually get anything done in life ever. And right now, thank God, I love my children. I chose to stay home with my children because I grew up in chaos. I grew up in just, and I love my parents, and I think that they did the best they could with what they had, and I do the best that I can with what I have, and one day my children might agree or disagree with me, I don't know, but that's all you can do. But I grew up in a lot of chaos, and I chose a very long time ago that I wanted to be home with my children, and I have that blessing to be home with my children, and it's been wonderful. But there are days like today that I am absolutely out of my mind because it's 4 o'clock already. It's 4 o'clock, and my son, who is about to be 18 months, finally just went down. And he went down, he fell asleep on the couch, face down, right? My daughter's asleep on me. And so, it's always a struggle to get your daughter off of you first, who is about to be 4 months old in like 4 days. And then she didn't wake up. Thank goodness. And then I got my son off the couch, and he's heavy now, man. Whew, he's heavy. And I try to get him into the crib, and the first thing he does is he wakes up. And I'm like, so, there's that debate. Do you just pick him back up, or do you have him self-soothe? And we've done both. I gotta tell you, picking him back up and just getting him back to sleep is almost always the safer option for us. In the instances that we do not, it is a nightmare, and he just stays up and he keeps crying and crying, and 45 minutes goes by, and then you gotta rock him for 45 minutes, and then so I had to learn that about my son, is he is stubborn as the day is long, and that is a trait he shares with both of his parents, and I don't blame him, and I think that it's going to do well for him later in life. But at the moment, it can be very frustrating and very time consuming, and just at some point in time you feel like ripping your hair out, because you don't get it, because he's tired and he needs to take a nap, but he's fighting it with everything in his soul. But It's okay. I chose this life, you know, and I have to remember that sometimes, that I chose this life. And just because I chose this life doesn't mean it's going to be perfect all the time, but you have to learn how to work with it. And some stress management tips for those moments that I'm with my son that I love so very much is just to remember that this too shall pass. And you know, I gotta tell you, holding especially my daughter, and then holding my son. My daughter who's 4 months, and then my son who's 18 months, which is a year and a half, which I didn't think I'd be talking in months when I became a mom, but I am. But you know, it's the milestones really. But you know, holding her first, and she's so tiny, and she's so squishy, and she's so just, you know, everything is just so wonderful and amazing. And then my son who's 18 months old, I mean, he's barely a year older. A year in our terms is nothing. A year in baby's terms is everything. And you know, it's only a moment. He's only going to be this big for so long. You know, the other night he's twirling around in circles with his toothbrush, which I had to rip out of his hands, and he took, you know, had a huge meltdown over that. But I didn't really want him twirling around with the toothbrush. But you know, then he goes back to twirling around 5 seconds later, and it's like, you know, he's never going to be this little again. He's never going to be this carefree again. He's never going to love me as much as he does right now. I doubt it. He loves me kind of a lot right now, but you know, I hope that he loves me when he's older too, and I'm sure that he will, but it'll never be like this again, you know, that I'm his entire world, and I am my daughter's entire world, and that's why I wanted to stay home with my children. But there are also those moments, you know. So that's what I want to remind you, is that you will never be here again. This is only a moment in time, and it will pass. Another stress management tip that I would like to talk to you about is, you know, just what are you telling yourself? What are those things that are repeating in your head? For the longest time, you know, like I said, I grew up in a little bit of chaos and disorder, and I had to learn how to manage that. The way that I learned how to manage it was to look at things logically. You know, I had to break things down. I had to say, okay, this person's acting like this. Why are they acting like this? How should I respond to this? You know, and I always tried to respond as kindly and as logically as I could. And, you know, but sometimes logic and kind aren't the same thing. And, you know, and then there's also those times that, you know, sacrificing yourself for the greater good, just, you've had enough. You can't do it forever. You know, there are those times too. So I want you to remember, like, what are you telling yourself? You know, if you're sitting there logically and you're saying, I can't possibly be a successful home-based business owner because, you know, this and that and the other thing and the other thing, or I can't possibly be a good mom because this, that, the other thing, you know, maybe because your mother wasn't a good role model, maybe because you don't have positive female role models in your life. There's that possibility. Not making any claims about females in my life. I'm stating that that is something that you might be telling yourself that you don't realize you're telling yourself. You know, saying that you can't be a home-based business owner because you haven't seen the results or the success or the this or the that to this point. That's fine. Because if you're approaching it logically, you are trying to see the results that aren't there. But I want to encourage you to breathe. Remember that this is just a moment in time, and to remember that, you know, if you are telling yourself it's not possible, you will use every particle of your brain, every power of your mind to find ways that it's not possible, you know. But if you start telling yourself that it is possible, that there's just that slight chance, then your brain is going to rewire itself to find those slight possibilities. Just those little grains of sand that are there that you can grasp at and move on to the next level, you know? Because if you asked me 4 months ago when my daughter was born, you know, what I would be able to accomplish today, I'd be like, there's no way, you know? But you just do it, you know? I've asked my mom a million times, you know, but how did you do it? how this and how that, and you just do it for the most part. But you do it, but you want to also keep in mind why you're doing it and where you want to go, right? Because then there's that disconnect too. If you're telling yourself it's possible, you're telling yourself that you can do it, you're remembering to just breathe and relax and remember that it's going to pass, and you're building all of these wonderful routines and these wonderful habits in your life. What's the goal? And sometimes that's the most stressful goal of them all, is finding a goal, like throwing spaghetti at the wall. Well, what is it that I want? Well, I want this, but how do I get there? I want unlimited vacations, really. I want a life filled with vacations. And how am I going to do that? Well, one day at a time. Right now, can't travel for various reasons, and that's just fine, but eventually when I can, I would like to. And how am I going to get there? Well, other than inheriting tons of money, winning the lottery, or I don't know, divorcing my husband and marrying a very rich guy, none of which are going to happen. I mean, maybe I'd win the lottery. I'm not divorcing my husband. That's why I left. I'm not going to do that. I like him. I'll keep him around. He's rich in other ways. I've met some rich guys that are kind of jerks, I'll be honest. But I digress. That was a tangent. I do that. But where are you going? What's the ultimate goal? What's the ultimate destination? Where is it that you're heading, and why are you heading there? And that's the third, I don't know, I lost count. Why are you doing it? Why is it something that you want? And that's why you also have to remember what you're telling yourself. If you're telling yourself it's for your kids, but you're going to use that money just to go on vacation, then that's sort of a disconnect. I do it for my kids because I want a life where I can afford to do anything I want with them. I want to be able to give them everything that I feel they deserve in life, and maybe I didn't have in life. It's not going to be a vacation all the time, but I want them to have a life filled with less stress than I have had the opportunity to have to this point in life. And again, that's another thing that you have to remember when you're finding yourself getting stressed out, is just that you are worth all of those things that maybe you don't have right now. Maybe you still are aiming to get all of these beautiful and wonderful and amazing things in your life, and you just can't seem to figure out how to get them. What are you telling yourself? Why are you telling yourself that? And how can you achieve it? And why is it that that's what you want to achieve? A lot of those things are something that's important to remember. And then building in those healthy habits, healthy routines, and building blocks to get you to where you're going. So that's what I want to leave you with today, and that's what I want to help you with daily. So please head over to my Facebook page, facebook.com/Shea Hulse. It's going to be down below in the comments, and you can get more daily helpful tips and habits and different things to help you in your journey in life, in business, in relationships, and so on. So thank you, and I will see you in there. Thanks. Bye.